Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As I come to this floor, I'm greatly honoured to take part in the debate. I'm always proud to represent my constituency, what is often called the greatest seat of democracy in the world. But today, I don't have any pride in what has happened, because today I stand ashamed to learn that what has been done by the past government and has been continued by the present government of this House. I stood in this House in 2012 and raised the question of why there had been no prosecution of Jerry McMonagle, who, with overwhelming evidence, has never been tried for his crimes, despite coming into Northern Ireland many times over the last number of years. Now, as a result of the last few months, I believe I know the reason why. In the adjournment debate at that time in this House, which was attended by the Right Honourable Member for North Belfast and by the Shadow Minister of State in March 12, regarding Lexi Cummins, I stated, "The family visit the grave of a true gentleman, Lexi Cummins, with questions in their minds and grief in their hearts. Who can answer their questions and give them closure? And questions must be answered, because the family can't forget that Lexi Cummins was a good man and worthy of justice. They know that for a reason unknown to them, someone has been fit to give an unrepentant Republican murderer the opportunity to parade around with no fear of justice in his merrill robes. And that is cruelty in the extreme, and I'm here today to ask for party and the help provided to that family and others, so that they can have closure, because they deserve closure. It was an open and shut case, and yet questions must be answered. Why did William Gerard McMonagle not stand trial for the murder of Lexi Cummins? How was it that William Gerard McMonagle was allowed to travel across the border to safety and freedom and to begin a new life, which has led him to being the Mayor of Letterkenny today? Why was he never extradited when it was known where he was? Why was there no cooperation between the Garda Síochána and the RUC to bring McMonagle to justice? Just to outline that case, if I could, Madam Deputy Speaker. In 1982, there was a summons, and he was summoned to court to answer to the murder of Lexi Cummins. There was a mistake in the summons, and at the time that it took the RUC to go and get it corrected and bring it back, he walked out of court, walked across the border, and never came back. So I brought this matter to attention through the German debate at that time in March 2012. I also had the opportunity to speak to my colleague, Jonathan Craig, the member of the Legislative Assembly, and who's also a member of the Policing Board, and asked him to make inquiries on my behalf, because I believe there is an evidential case to be answered from this gentleman for what he did in the murder of Lexi Cummins. So I want to know why and what steps, and the Secretary of State perhaps can answer this. I know that it'd be great to get an answer, because the former Minister of State, in his reply on that night, and some of the members can remember, answered in a non-committal way. But it was all down to a dirty backroom deal that began under Blair, was perpetrated by this government as well, which gives me no satisfaction whatsoever to say that, but it's the way I see it. A deal in which unrepentant terrorist murderers were offered amnesty and even royal pardon from the very royal family that they themselves despised and wished to kill, and indeed did kill, in the form of Lord Mountbatten. A bitter pill to swallow indeed, when I think of how proud people in Northern Ireland are to see their Queen. When I think of the Jubilee visit, during which Protestant and Catholic lined up for hours to catch a glimpse and show their respect. These men had vowed to destroy the monarchy, and yet were more than pleased to get their hands on a royal prerogative pardon, as facilitated by the Northern Ireland Office and the Secretary of State, to wash away the repercussions of their disgusting crimes.
I'd like to thank my friend, honourable friend, for giving way. It's interesting that said Liam Averill, who got the royal pardon, was back in court just about a month ago. Of course, not for any of his crimes as regards his Terrorism Act, but he was in a court in Londonderry, and he was being brought up because of drinking charges and driving a vehicle under the influence. He was the judge sitting on the bench fined him £200. Of course, he said, "I don't have £200. So the judge said, "Well, how much have you in your pocket?" He said, "I have £30. I said, "Right, I changed the 200 to £30. Is that justice?
No. Most definitely isn't, and everyone in this House would certainly endorse that. Exactly. It's an example of putting more salt in the wounds of the people. There can be no earthly action that can ever wash away their guilt. I'm also heartened that in the next world they will answer for their crimes, as the Honourable gentleman for South Antrim referred to earlier on. The sympathies given by the Minister of State in the deaths means less than nothing to the family of my cousin Kenneth Smith, murdered by the IRA on the 10th of December 1970, and Lexi Cummins. They're actually an insult to their memories. and to the memories of all the men and women who had their lives snatched away from them by murderers who were then hidden and protected by this government and the last government. Is this democracy? No. Is this moral? No. Is this simply abhorrent and downright wrong? Yes, it is. There can be no whataboutery, there can be no justifications or explanations that can satisfy. Apologies have been heard, but they do not make black to be white, wrong to be right, broken hearts to be mended. Do they rebuild trust? No, they don't either. Madam Deputy Speaker, in a question to the Secretary of State, the then former Secretary of State in 2011 about the historic inquiries team, I asked, the concern is that investigations may not have been thorough, so does the Secretary of State accept that confidence needs to be instilled in the Unionist community? At that time, the Secretary of State, little wonder that the then Secretary of State would not agree, because they knew what had happened and what continued to happen under their watch. I knew that this would not inspire confidence. So you can understand why we in this side of the House and in this party, and specifically for myself, have concerns over how government have handled this. I look forward to the Secretary of State's response. I hope she can take our points of view on board. I'll be deeply interested to hear how she will answer them. Nonetheless, we look forward to that. I would like to mention a couple of other occasions if I can, because we can't let this occasion pass and not mention it. Le Mans Hotel, the atrocity when so many people were burned alive, is in my constituency. It is intimated that some of those involved in that there have risen to high positions in either in Northern Ireland's jurisdiction or perhaps in jurisdictions and elsewhere in the Republic of Ireland. Have they a paper of absolution that lets them get away with what they've done in the past? On behalf of the people in Le Mans, I would certainly like to see get more details about who has been had absolution and how that has worked. And I also think of the Ballydugan, where the 4 UDR men were murdered. 3 of those young UDR men I knew myself personally. 8 people were arrested. They were questioned and then let out. Again, perhaps the Secretary of State can give us some indication. Had any of those 8 people papers of absolution, of the get out of jail free card? And if they had, certainly I would be asking a re-investigation to be done in relation to them. Quite happy to give way.
Speaker, I hope as a result of this extremely good debate this afternoon that those people with letters will actually get the message. They haven't got a get out of jail free card. They haven't got an amnesty, and the police service of Northern Ireland will now be turning their attention to investigating them and finding them.
The honourable gentleman for his contribution, and that's exactly what I want to hear from the Secretary of State, as the honourable gentleman has put forward. And we look forward to hearing that's going to be the case. The fact is now that not only have the Unionist people no confidence in the dealings of the government, but the right-thinking moral nationalists as well are also disgusted by the revelations of the on the runs. And let me be rightly understood here. This is not simply an affront to one community. This is an affront to democracy, to justice, and it will take some time for the people of Northern Ireland, whether man, woman, old or young, rich or poor, Protestant or Catholic, to ever again look without much suspicion on the actions of government, who will take on terrorists on foreign shores whilst protecting unrepentant terrorists on their own soil. I hope that members since 2010 will have recognised that I have tried in this House, Madam Deputy Speaker, always to be very, very balanced, and I've tried to look on the bright side in everything I do, as I do with my constituents as well, and always attempt to not to be too harsh in my comments. There is no bright side in this issue, just shady deals and back rooms. I cannot leave the debate with the usual hope and optimism that something can be done to make things better. But while the Secretary of State has tried to assure us that letters cannot now be used as a get out of jail card, will this restore confidence? There's a judicial review in this, but will this restore trust? I have no plan or quick fix. Only openness and transparency will rebuild that which has been destroyed because of what has taken place in the last few months. Many of my people have come and said to my constituents and said to me, I fear for what else has been agreed behind our back. And if there's more bad news to come, Secretary of State, we need to know what that's going to be. And is there any other shitty deals that the government before have done and that you and your position as Secretary of State in this government are carrying on? I ask for the truth. The truth, Madam Deputy Speaker, has to be heard here today. I know that what I will always think of, and through this episode, is this: the dirty dealing that rocked the nation and robbed trust in every principles of democracy and freedom. That's how we feel about it. I think the time has now come for to bring all of these terrorists and the murderers to account for their actions and their deals over the last 30 and 40 years that they think they have got away with. And as the honourable gentleman has said, and as I believe as well, it's up to the Secretary of State and to this government to make them accountable for their crimes, to do away with their bits of white paper, to put them in jail and let them rot there for the rest of their lives.